And today we're continuing with the attribute Al-Alim, the all-knowing. And when we look at this name, we unlock a couple names. So when we unlock two names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time we pray al-istikhara, and they are Al-Alim, Al-Qadir. So Imam Yasir from SoCal once asked a pastor who had read the Quran from cover to cover, "What stood out to you the most?" And the pastor replied, "How much God knows, how much He knows." And God knows everything. Al-Alim is mentioned in the Quran 157 times to emphasize that He is aware, fully knowing everything. So after the name Allah, Al-Alim is the name that is mentioned in the Quran the most. And in the Quran, in Surah Ar-Rum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah is the one who created you from weakness, then made after weakness strength, then made after strength weakness, and white hair. He creates what He wills, and He is the knowing, the competent. He is Al-Alim, Al-Qadir. SubhanAllah, why is it important that we understand that He is the most knowing? Because no knowledge escapes Him. You know, our human capabilities, we're limited. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited. Allah knows everything from the beginning to the end, in between, and far ahead of it and far behind it. It's not just the basic knowledge that we actually see, subhanAllah. And even when you talk about this verse, the way He put the knowing and the competent, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in this verse is talking about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and He knows what He created. And of that creation, you see one aspect of creation, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates us in weakness. Then after that weakness, He gives us strength, and after that strength, He gives us weakness. For those of us that attain an old age or an older age, you will see that this is fact, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us weak. What does that mean? That we're babies when we're created. We need assistance. We're vulnerable. We're weak. We need assistance to eat, to change, to bathe, to do everything, even to rock them to sleep, right? And as we get older, He exchanges that weakness to strength, and we become what? Independent. We're able to do everything on our own. We're able to eat and dress and change and shower and sleep, everything on our own, subhanAllah. And He gives us that strength intellectually, physically, and we even mature emotionally to go through what we go through, right? Then what happens with time, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with that age, after that strength, you see that weakness again. So after you reach a level of strength, you'll see after a certain period of time, you will start to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So the things that used to be easy for us become difficult. Even eating with ease becomes difficult. Walking becomes challenging. Sleeping becomes irritable. Things like this happen all the time. So in that verse, Allah creates what He wills, and He is the one who is fully knowing and able to do what He wishes. Now, Al-Alim indicates the greatness, expertise, and the depth of knowledge. Yani, when we look at even a human, we talk about knowledge, we look at their credentials, right? We look at the level of knowledge that they have, or what certifications or degrees that they have, or experience that they have, and we base that knowledge on that. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited like His creation. Allah is aware of everything, knowledgeable of everything. Now we could also take Al-Alim, which was mentioned in the Quran also so many times to get us to re-emphasize the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and not for us to be heedless in that. Allah is fully aware. In Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, "And it is He who created the heavens and the earth in truth. And the day He says be, and it is. His word is the truth, and his is the dominion on the day the horn is blown, and he is the knower of the unseen and the witnessed, and he is the wise and acquainted. Al-Alim is the most basic form, and it refers to a professor of knowledge. A person that is knowledgeable is called an alim. Like when we actually break it down, when we talk about any scholar or informed person or knowledgeable person, we call that person an alim. And that refers more so the depth of the knowledge. It refers to how much knowledge that one carries and the depth of that knowledge. Al-Alim is always paired with Al-Ghaib, the unseen. So when you look at this concept, Allah is all-knowing. He is Al-Alim. He is the one who knows everything, but it's also paired many times with Al-Ghaib because He is even aware of the unseen. So when we compare the human, the creation to the Creator, Allah is not limited, but the creation is. So the creation does not know the unseen. The creation could only see what's in front of them, only knows what's introduced to them. They don't know anything else. Al-Alim in Surah Al-Ma'idah says, be warned of the day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will assemble the messengers and say, what was the response that you received? That if even all the messengers and prophets will be risen and brought back to be asked, what was the reaction that you received from the people? And they will say, we have no knowledge. Indeed, it was you who is knower of the unseen. So messengers do their part, but do they understand all that they put forth? And are they able to inform or calculate or, be aware of everything that came after them? No. So subhanallah, Al-Alim indicates plentifulness and the great variety, the amount of knowledge. There's a difference between being an expert in one category of things, and there's a difference between being an expert in all things or many things. This name comes in an extraordinary form and refers to reaching the height of knowledge, so the maximum capacity. Al-Alim is paired with Al-Ghaib, which is Al-Ghuyub, which is the plural of the unseen. So this is the absolute form of knowledge and to all the plurals of the unseen. Now, a person who possesses knowledge is like an encyclopedia. It's called Al-Alima due to the depth of that knowledge that he or she possesses. So it depends on what knowledge that person is carrying and how much of that knowledge they're carrying. And this individual has mastered a variety of topics of every science, not just one type of knowledge. So it's kind of like when you're talking to scholars that have studied for years and years and years, they completed a study, then they go into another study and another study, their expertise and their specialists in many different levels. So let's look at the Islamic aspect. There's people that only study like the Quran, right? They understand the ahkam, they understand the tajweed, the recitation. Some people dive deep in the meaning, the interpretation of it. Some people are scholars of fiqh. They know Islamic law. That's what they study. That's what they prefer. If you tell them about, give me a fatwa for this or a fatwa for this, a legality of something, they'll know it. But not everybody can be a person who can give a fatwa if they didn't study the fiqh, right? You have people that study the tafsir of a hadith, so they can break down Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari. They understand the Qudsi hadith. They can break it down and they are mufassirin of the hadith. There's some in the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They study, their whole study is besides knowing little bits of everything, like a doctor when they study, they know a little general of everything. But then they go to what? their specialty. Their specialty. So some people are specialized in the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They master the whole seerah from beginning to the end of the revelation when it comes to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some have a specialty in many, not just one or two. But the mass majority, they pick a specialty and they excel and they exceed in it. Okay? But that's where it talks about the different heights of knowledge and the amount of knowledge that somebody possesses. Now, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala versus the knowledge of the creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is encompassing. It's complete. His knowledge is comprehensive. He knows every single thing that is good for us, and He also knows every single thing that's bad for us. He knows His creation inside and out. He knows the before and the after, even when we ourselves don't know. You know, sometimes we think we always know better, but we don't. We think we see everything clearly. We don't. Our knowledge is completely limited while His is not at all. So He even knows what's good for us and what's bad for us. He knows what's in the past and He knows what's in the future. And He knows what didn't happen and what happened if an event took place. So He doesn't just have that just scope of knowledge to know what's coming, in the past that was already done, nor what's happening now. He knows what will be. And He also knows what didn't happen. When you even intend to do something and it didn't, and you didn't happen, He knows what didn't happen. He also knows what would have happened if you went here, or if you didn't, or if you bought this, or if you didn't, or if you traveled here, or you didn't, or you married this person versus that person. SubhanAllah. So Allah is completely aware of everything in all of its all. Yani, there's no limit to His knowledge. The knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is truly complete, and nothing is hidden from Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what would have happened if that person married so-and-so versus so-and-so. How many times we hear that in our conversations? Oh, that person was asked for by this person, or that person was engaged to this person but broke it off. This person, oh, you would have known, this person was engaged for like 5 years to this person, but they ended up leaving and marrying somebody else. Or this person was engaged to that person and left that person and remarried that person. How many times? They love hearing those things, right? We like to live in the past for some reason. But the reality is, the truth is, Allah even knows if you did or you didn't, what would happen. If your parents never met, what would happen, right? If you were born a different gender, what would happen? If you had picked a different major, what would happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all the above. And He knows how our lives would turn out with the countless possibilities that are thrown in our way every moment. With every moment. In Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and with Him are the keys of the unseen. With Him are the keys of the unseen. None knows them except for Him. He knows what is in the land and in the sea, and not a leaf falls, but He knows of it. And no grain is there within the darkness of the earth, and no moist or dry thing, but that it is written in a clear record. I want you to reflect on this verse a little bit. Sometimes we're deceived by shaitan, that if we were to do something privately, then Allah and the people don't know about it. If nobody knows what's in my heart, or I never utter my thoughts, we tend to think nobody knows about it. But wallah, Allah knows about it. Allah knows what we think and what we intend, what we do and what we hold back. He knows every single thing. And even when you look at this, and as I'm driving here from where I live to now, I'm just always in awe with the beautiful fall. And you look at all these leaves that right now you're going to actually see how something can go from life to death, and you'll see that every one of those leaves will eventually fall. Now imagine, Allah knows every leaf whenever it falls, wherever it is. It knows everything that's walking on the earth on the land or in the sea. Whether it's light or dark, wherever it is, He knows, as He knows all the operations of this creation. And you have to just say subhanallah. Because for us to actually think that we can hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what we think we can hide from humans, then we truly are deceived. Allah knows and is fully aware of everything. Subhanallah. So Allah's knowledge is perfect in every way. Not only with everything we do, but also with everything that didn't happen. And this should make your heart at peace a little bit. Why? I'll tell you why. Not only are we worried about the clouds and the skies and the rain and the leaves and the ants that crawl and all the creatures that crawl all around the world or under the sea. What about us? Allah knows exactly what's happening to us. Allah knows what we're doing by our own hand and by our own action, and He knows what others are doing to us, in front of us or behind us. You know how sometimes even we waste so much energy looking at what people are doing behind our backs or what they're doing, they're plotting, they're scheming. This person wronged me, I want everybody to know about. So we even do this uproar because we have to do all these things to make sure. Yes, we're supposed to defend ourselves. Yes, we're supposed to protect ourselves. Yes, all the above. But you know what brings me peace as I try to work and live my life? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of what is happening in front of me and behind me. And who is doing good by me and who is wronging me. Whether I know it or I don't know it. So even that knowledge takes us to His just system, His justice. There may be things that I never know, and there'll be plenty of things I do know. But the reality is we gotta understand that Allah knows, and nobody can escape that. And everything will be held in account, whether it's me or others around me. So understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is perfect. In every single way that you could think of, it's perfect. And not only with everything we do, but also with everything that didn't even happen. You know, we always say that shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? If this happened, this would have happened. How do we know? We don't know. We just know that whatever happens is meant to happen. And we walk towards that, doing our best with what we can, with our power. But ultimately, Allah is fully aware of the things that are done and the things that didn't happen and would have been. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who teaches us what we do not know. We're in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and Allah said to the angels, inform me of the names of these if you are truthful. They said, exalted you are. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, it is you who is the knowing, the wise. And even when we look and compare the knowledge, and even the angels, as we know, they do not do anything without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know exactly what Allah taught them. Only what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught them. And they do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them to do. And this was their response to their Lord, that they only know what He has taught them. Now, our knowledge will never reach the level of encompassing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why it's very scary when you see scientists or doctors or certain, professions that they carry a certain power of knowledge, right? And then they start to innovate, thinking they're almost like godly-like. And that's scary. To the point where if you enter the sciences, you should be more, infatuated with God and more aware of God's capability and the knowledge that He brought down. Not for me to look better or think that I'm better or more knowing than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the same goes sometimes with professions. Even you see like doctors that reach high levels and they feel like they're top surgeons and they think they can actually bring life. When the reality is the power that they have or the skill that they have was given to them by Allah. And God is the one who chooses what they are successful in and what they're not successful in. It's only what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses. So nothing ever, or no human or creation of God will reach the level of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way. In Surah Al-Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and they ask you, O Muhammad, about the soul, about the ruh. The soul is of the affair of your Lord, and mankind have not been given of knowledge except a little bit. Yani one of the things that we don't know at all, very little, very, 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 very little about, is the ruh. And as much as you study the body, the organs, the every little aspect of it, they can't really explain this ruh. There is knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given and He has held back. And this is of those aspects of knowledge that this is not informed to us. We don't know the details of it. And subhanAllah, even when you look at people, be mindful if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with knowledge or even wisdom. Always accredit it to the one who gave it to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and allow that gift to humble you, never to make you boastful or arrogant. And the knowledge that we possess, even no matter how much we possess, it's so small. It's so small. And that's why it's important that the more you learn, you realize there's much more to learn. In the beginning, when you first start to seek knowledge, you think you're fully aware of everything, and all of a sudden you're the know-it-all that shoots up the answers, and most of the time they're wrong. Because why? Because we're so eager to show what we know. But the reality is, calm down. Just calm down. Why? Because the more we know, the reality is, the little we already know. There's oceans of knowledge out there. And if we are blessed to know something, it's a little. It's a little. So always humble yourself with the knowledge that you have, and always work your best to increase it, and allow that increasing of knowledge never to make you arrogant, to make you humble and understanding and merciful, subhanAllah. And subhanAllah, this was an example of Musa alayhi salam. Know that we can't reach a level that we're all-knowing. Okay? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's position is all-knowing. Once Musa alayhi salam was asked, who knows the most? Who knows the most? And at that time, he is very knowledgeable. He was the prophet of God. He was a very knowledgeable person. And he thought he was the knowledgeable one. He did. He didn't say also in arrogance. He didn't. He didn't mean it to be arrogant or boastful. Not by any means, right? But that's what he thought. And when he responded to that question, he says, they asked him, who knows the most? His response was me. He responded with me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Musa alayhi salam on a journey to meet Khadr. It was a servant that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a certain knowledge that goes beyond even Musa alayhi salam's knowledge. And he wanted to go have him meet him so he can know that he had limited knowledge. Now, where is this story that we can learn from Musa and Khadr? This is in Surah Al-Kahf. And in this story, it's important because what is he here trying to teach him? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, gave you knowledge and you are knowledgeable. But you can never say you're the most knowledgeable. Can never say that. And two, I want to remind myself and you, when he went to go meet Al-Khadr, he wanted to meet him. He wanted to know, because Musa alayhi salam was always eager to learn. He was always eager to see the best of things, to grow and to learn and to share. Not out of, like I told you, out of humility, not out of piety, not out of arrogance, not to boast. Okay? But the thing is, Al-Khadr opened a reality for us that we wouldn't have seen without that story. Al-Khadr, why is it so important to read Surah Al-Kahf, or among the reasons to read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday? Because we all need this reminder. This story is very powerful. It was Khadr. Al-Khadr was a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he blessed him with knowledge and he made him do certain things for him in the land. Right? Now we heard how when he first got onto, and he told him, you're not going to be patient with me. My type of knowledge, you are not going to be patient with me. And he's like, no, you're going to find me patient. Inshallah, you'll find me patient. And he's like, I don't think you're going to be patient. He's like, just try me. Take me with you. So he did. He told him, don't ask me nothing. That's the type of journey I like. Don't ask me nothing, right? Then he goes to him. Okay, so he accompanies him. What does he do? He gets on this boat. Nice people. They let him ride. He puts a defect in the boat. Musa alayhi salam, being a righteous man, he's looking at him like, are you crazy? They gave us a ride. They're nice people. Why would you put a defect? He's like, I told you, you're not going to be patient with me. What I do, what I know, you are not going to be patient with me. He's like, forgive me. Forgive me for asking you. And hopefully, I'll be patient with you. They go in, they get on the land. He kills a kid. Yeah. Now imagine you seeing this. We are not patient with that knowledge. All of a sudden his response was, oh my God, you killed a poor innocent soul, a young ghulam. What's wrong with you? Why did you do this? He's like, I told you, you're not going to be patient with me. He said, forgive me for for me not being patient. Give me one more chance. So the first two, he did something that any of us would react, right? We would be like, what's this guy doing? Well, the third time, where they went to a city and they asked, they were tired from their journey. They asked for somewhere to rest and to eat, and they rejected them. They sat along this wall that's kind of breaking apart. Al-Khadr starts to fix it. And Musa Islam this time does not dare ask him a question. He just says a comment. He doesn't ask him a question. He just says, well, if you'd like, you would have gotten paid for this. And he's like, that's when me and you part. We're done. He's like, let me explain to you what these are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Al-Khadr. He didn't do anything on his will, in his own will. He ordered him to put the defect in the boat because he foreseen a king that's taking all these poor people's boat. He put a little cork in it so he can make a defect where they pull aside so they could still have their boat. So yeah, it's a disservice, but what? It's better than a worse thing happening. So God wanted to protect them. When the child that he kind of killed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew this child is going to be troublesome for the parents. And the parents were righteous children, righteous people, that he wanted to replace it. He wanted to replace that child with a child better than it. Isn't it a hardship? Yeah. It's a hardship for those parents. But it's also a different type of hardship when your child becomes not something that's nur of your eyes and the nur of your chest. When kids are kids, they're beautiful when they're kids, but when they grow up, their problems get bigger. And the difference is sometimes people don't understand that transferring to the next life is better for them. So that's a win-win situation, by the way. When a child passes young, where do they go? Jannah. And the parents have a hardship, but if they're patient, Allah builds them a paradise, a palace in paradise, right? But then what? He replaced them with a child that will be merciful to them as they grow. So it's a win-win situation, but Allah only knows that. Do we know that? We don't know that. The third is that wall had a treasure under it, and it was almost like a wird or inheritance for 2 orphans in that community. In that community, you see how mean they were? They didn't even give them any food or ability to rest or anything. If they seen that treasure, they would have took it. And they would have oppressed those orphans and they wouldn't have got anything. Allah made it where He protected it for them until they get to a certain age. He will guide them to it and they'll find it. So what apparently seems bad and evil, Allah had khair behind it. And that is truly knowledge that we don't have. And how many times, even in the Quran, Allah says, what may look bad to you has khair behind it. And don't be deceived. What is good in front of you might have shar behind it. Just trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why the affairs of a believer are good. When you look at that concept, it's very clear that if you have goodness, you're thankful, it's good for you. And you humble and you use it in the right way, it's good for you. And if you go through a difficulty, be patient and persevere through it, for there is good for you. There is good for you. So subhanAllah, this concept is very important. This is where we need to build on trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more we trust Allah, we're not going to question what He does and what He doesn't do, what He gives and what He takes, what happens, what doesn't happen. We're going to reach a level where we're like, just help me cope through it, Ya Allah. Let me be of those that are grateful and are patient in all my affairs. And let me trust You, knowing the fact that You know what's good for me and know what's bad for me. While I don't. Right? I don't. Now, there is some knowledge which which is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see this in Surah Luqman, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed Allah alone has knowledge of the hour, and He sends down the rain, and knows what is in the wombs, and no soul perceives what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul perceives what land it will die. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted. Now, some people, like here, you understand that there is knowledge with Allah ultimately. So even if we have little bits and signs of knowledge, but the ultimate knowledge of when precisely it will happen is what? It's with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even with advanced technology and advanced knowledge that comes down and people are aware of it, they don't know the precise time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to do something. So when you look at the hour, when you look at when the rain starts to fall down, you see assumptions, you see calculations, but you don't see precise. Also, you see what's in the wombs, even with the latest technology. Allah knows before everybody knows. Allah is the one who chooses a son. And no soul knows what they're going to earn tomorrow or what land they will die. SubhanAllah, you could live in a place all your life, and you can die somewhere else, and you don't know when you're going to die. Even the precise moment that all of you dies, you don't know. SubhanAllah. Now, how many times we've experienced this where somebody would say, I think they knew they were going to die. They were like on a different, they were talking to everybody and they went and visited everybody and they were saying salams to everybody. And they were so happy that day and this, that, and other thing. Well, they don't. This is the verse that proves it. They don't know. Maybe God kind of like motivated or gave them kind of like that insight, enlightened them to do certain acts. But do they know they're going to die? I don't think so, no. Because if people knew they were going to die, they wouldn't be like that at all. It would be crazy. It would be chaotic. It would be scary. So, are we inspired to do certain things? Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe we're inspired. Do you sometimes get inspired to ask about somebody that you didn't see in a while? And then it turns out they're sick or something? Something motivates you to ask or to do something. That's an inspiration from Allah. That's like how He guides us. Right? But that doesn't mean that we know and we're expecting to die or that person knows it. SubhanAllah, even when doctors give terms for people and patients, they don't know exactly. Just recently, what's the expectancy of this lifespan? Like, how long do you think they'll live? Or they'll deal with anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. We really don't know. The reality is they don't know. It's just an estimate based off of just their knowledge. But do they know everything? No, they don't. SubhanAllah. So in that aspect, when we talk about knowledge, I want us to look at Allah and know that He is Al-Alim, and He is the one who knows what's apparent and what's hidden, what's private, what's public. He is fully aware of what it is that we do and what we need. And this is where I want us to kind of add to holding ourselves accountable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly what's in your heart. And He knows exactly what's on your mind. He knows exactly what's bothering you. He knows what's easy for you, what's hard for you. He knows all the circumstances in your life. Now, when we are to act, Allah is asking us to act with that God consciousness and to hold ourselves accountable with that mindset. Not worried about what this person did, what this person didn't do, what this person intended, what this person didn't intend. I don't know that. You don't know that. We're assuming that. At the same time, can I control anybody else but myself? Shoot, I have a hard time controlling myself. So how can I control myself and them or other people? So my business is one with myself and knowing that Allah, the All-Knowing, knows exactly everything that surrounds me, what's good for me, what's bad for me, and I'm going to trust it. And I'm going to trust it. But I'm going to trust it taking the steps that He taught me to put that trust, inshallah, to have that tawakkul, to i'kal wa tawakkal, meaning I have to work, I have to do my part, I have to use the channels that God gave me, from my brain to my eyes, to my ears, to my heart, to my emotions, to my body, every aspect of me, and I'm going to try my best to do the right thing with relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this attribute is very scary and comforting at the same time. Why do I say scary? Is because He does know everything. There's nothing prevented from Him. That's the scary thing. So this is where the comforting aspect is. I know that He knows what I'm going through. He knows where my struggles are coming from, and He can understand that. So when you're looking at the scary part, I'm going to hold myself accountable and be fully aware that I want to try my best to reach a level of ihsan. That I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if I see Him. And obviously, we're not going to see Him, but we have to absolutely know that He sees us. As far as the part of the comforting part, I don't have to prove my point to anyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly what I'm intending, who I am, what I'm capable of, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, why I'm doing it, why I'm not doing it. Exactly, 100%. And He also knows all the things surrounding me as well. So with that being said, I'm going to put my hands in cold water, knowing that Allah, the All-Knowing, the One who is all able, is going to dispose of my affairs, and He's going to be the fairest and judge in that judgment. In that judgment. So again, some people will come to you and ask, well, can I do this or can I do that? Am I vulnerable? Allah knows your circumstance. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so rahim. He gives us alternatives on how to do certain things depending on what condition we're in. So know that Allah is fair and Allah is knowing and understanding of everything that's going on around you and within you, inshallah. So with that being said, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to embrace this attribute and to make sure that we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of everything that we do. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-knowing, to increase us in knowledge and make us of those that are wise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us beneficial knowledge and to make us of those who worship Him as if we see Him. And even if we don't see Him, know that He sees us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive any and all of our shortcomings. Those that are private, those that are public, those that are major and those that are minor, those that are intended and those that are unintended. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the straight path and keep us on that straight path and allow us to enrich in love for Him by His beautiful attributes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who memorize His attributes, who know His attributes, who embed His attributes and draw closer to Him through these attributes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us success in this world and the next, to make us victorious in this world and the next. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us His love and the love of those who love Him and the love of every deed that will bring us closer to His love. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to always steer us in a path that is pleasing to Him, that will allow us to earn His love and His reward, and to protect us from a path that is displeasing to Him, earning His wrath or His punishment. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.